Hey students, in this video we're going to go through section 8.2 about comparing and ordering integers. Our learning target is I can compare and order integers. So these words up top are going to describe to us a little bit about on a number line when numbers are greater or lesser. So recall that on a horizontal number line, one that goes side to side, numbers to the left are less than numbers to the right. So if we move to the left, if we move this way, our numbers are going to get lesser. Numbers to the right are greater than numbers to the left. So if we move the opposite way, if we go to the right, the numbers are getting greater. On a vertical number line, one that goes up and down, numbers below are less than numbers above. If we move down, the numbers get lesser. Numbers above are greater than numbers below. If we move up, our numbers are getting greater. So that might be some things you already know, but I just wanted to go over that just so we have a solid understanding of when numbers are greater or lesser. So we're going to move right into our first example. We're going to compare 2 and -6. We're going to decide which one is greater. So first, we're going to put these on a number line because we've learned that numbers to the right are greater than numbers to the left. So whichever one is further to the right on the number line, that is going to be our greater number. So I'm going to go ahead and put 0 right there. And I'm going to label my positive sides. 1, 2. This is where my 2 is going to go right there. Now I need to put -6. So I'm going to count back on my negative sides. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, all the way over there. So here are my points, 2 and -6. And I need to decide which is greater. Well, the one that's further to the right is going to be greater. That means 2 is greater than -6. So the alligator is going to eat the bigger number. This means greater than. 2 is greater than -6. Now, you may have already known that. You may have said, Miss Reed, I know positive numbers are for sure going to be greater than negative numbers. But let's go ahead and move into part B. What happens when we have two negative numbers? So I'm going to put 0 here on my number line, and I'm going to count back to the negatives. I don't need any positives. That's why I put 0 all the way over here. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. I could keep going, but I don't need to because I only need to plot -5 and -3. So here's -5, here's -3. We need to decide which is greater. It's actually -3. That one is further to the right, which means it's greater. So -5 is less than, this means less than because it's eating this over here. This is bigger, so -5 is less than -3. That may seem odd at first because you're thinking, well, in positive numbers, 5 is bigger than 3. But with negative numbers, it's different. With negative numbers, we need to imagine what's further to the right on a number line. -3 is further to the right. -3 is greater than -5, or the other way around, -5 is less than -3. Now we're going to go ahead and use that to order some numbers from least to greatest. So here, I'm going to actually plot all 5 of those numbers on my number line and list them in order from left to right because that will automatically be least to greatest order. Because again, the numbers get greater as you move to the right. So if we start with the one on the left, move to the right, that's least to greatest. So I'm going to put 0 right about here in the middle. And I'll do the positive side first. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll count our negative side. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And now let's go ahead and plot each point. So -4 first. Then I have 3 over here, 0, -1, and -2. So there's all of my points, all my numbers. Now I can go ahead and just list them in order from left to right because that's automatically least to greatest. So the least of these is -4. Next is -2, then -1, then 0, and then 3. So this is again showing us that when it comes to negative numbers, -4 is actually lesser than -2 and -1. When it comes to negative numbers, imagine what's further to the right. I think about it as what is less negative? What is closer to being positive? That's going to be greater. -1 is closer to being positive, so it is greater than -2. -2 is closer to being positive, so it's greater than -4. 0 is always in between our negatives and positives. And finally, positives are always greater than negatives. So really in this section, it's a great tool to use a number line to help us decide order from least to greatest or which is greater. Last example, a number is greater than -8 and less than 0. What is the greatest possible integer value of this number? So we have 4 options and we're deciding. It has to be greater than -8 and less than -0. So let's go ahead and first start by labeling our number line and figuring out where this number has to be in between. It has to be greater than -8 and less than 0. So I'm going to put 0 about right here on my number line. And I'll count the positives, 1, 2, and then I'll count the negatives. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10. So I know my integer has to be greater than -8. So here's -8. And it has to be less than 0. So it has to be in between here somewhere. Greater than -8, further to the right than -8, but less than 0, to the left of 0. It has to be somewhere in here. And we want it to be the greatest possible value. So we're going to plot these 4 values, and we want the greatest one that falls in this range. So first, let's plot -10. That's not going to work because it's not in our range. It's actually less than -8. Next, we'll plot -7. This one could work because it is within our range. Next, we'll plot -1. This one again could work because it's in our range. And finally, we'll plot 2. That one automatically doesn't work. It is greater than 0. So we have 2 choices, -7 and -1. Which of these is greater? Because we want the greatest possible value. Well, -1 is further to the right, so it is greater than -7. Again, another way to think about it, -1 is closer to being positive than -7 is.